Shalom. First, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Racha HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 elect. I am Mayakala. And before I play this video, I do have a short video that I'm gonna play. It's about 10 minutes, but I probably won't play all of it. And it is for edification purposes, so I will be using this under the 1976 Copyright Fair Use Act. So I'm using this under fair use. It's for edification purposes only. This channel is not monetized, so I'm not looking to gain any money by using this video under fair use. But before I play the video, I'm gonna get a quick verse in the book of Ezekiel. And because I like sharing the definition of names in the Hebrew, this would be pronounced Yah Chazak Allah. Yah meaning he, Chazak meaning strength, Allah meaning power. So this name means he, strength, power. One of the saints, one of the prophets of the Lord. Ezekiel chapter 4 verse 13, it says, "And the Lord Yahweh said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them." And in the NLT it says, "Then the Lord Yahweh said, this is how Israel will eat defiled bread in the Gentile lands to which I will banish them." We being the Hebrew Israelites in this land, brought to this land by way of the Atlantic slave trade. We are in the land of the Gentiles. It's ruled by the Gentiles, ruled by the so-called white man, Esau, Edom. That's his biblical name. And that's what this video is about, and it is indeed about just that, what the scripture said, bread. While the scriptures referring to the foods that we consume in this land, period, are poisoned, are defiled, this particular article happens to be pertaining to bread. Alright, so I'm going to let a little bit of it play, and I'm going to stop it. I just have a couple more verses that I'm going to bring out, so this won't be very long. And I'll let it play.
Because I just need to go over 6 breads that have been removed from stores for containing pesticides. Yeah, you might want to know that before you go to the store next.
Salakia.
Alright guys, I got a lot of videos to make, a lot of stuff to keep you guys aware and prepared. If you guys appreciate these daily uploads, hit the thumbs up. Tell me where you're chiming in from stateside in the comments. And if you guys end up finding value here, please share this video. That's how we inform the world, so change happens, right? Headline reads, 6 breads removed from stores for containing pesticides. How do we even get to this? This article reads, bread is one of the most basic foods in the kitchen around the world. We use it every single day. Thank God we're starting to make our own bread. Yeah, that means we know exactly what's on the ingredients label. But they're saying that even an everyday staple like this is not immune to a contamination concern. Don't we have systems in place to protect us Americans from that? Nope, it takes a YouTuber to let you know. They're saying tests and recalls have shown that certain brand name breads have contained pesticides or related chemicals and residues, prompting health warnings and store removals in some areas. Here's a closer look at the breads removed from the stores from containing pesticides or chemical residues. Are you flippin' kidding me? We're gonna go over the brands that are affected so you guys know. It's finally starting to spread all over social media, not necessarily your social media, but like TikTok and stuff that you probably aren't watching. An independent testing from certified third-party labs found triple-digit glyphosate levels in several widely consumed brands, including Nature's Own Butter Bread, Nature's Own Perfected Crafted White, Wonder Bread Classic White, and Sara.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there because she mentioned glyphosate in particular. So I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to look up what glyphosate is. It says glyphosate is the world's most widely used broad-spectrum systemic herbicide and crop desiccant, acting as the active ingredient in products like Roundup to kill weeds and grasses by inhibiting essential plant enzyme production. Introduced in 1974, it is heavily used in agriculture, particularly with GMO Roundup ready crops as well as residential gardening. All right, and you know about that product. That product has been looked at very closely because of its amount of it being poisonous. All right, and being used in gardens, being used as a pesticide. All right, and I wanted to look under a couple areas here under this definition of what glyphosate is. It says under controversy in health, says while the EPA considers it unlikely to be a human carcinogen when used as labeled, the World Health Organization has labeled it probably carcinogenic. It is linked to potential risks, including cancer, and has been banned or restricted in various countries. So in some countries, this has been banned. All right. Exposure says human exposure occurs through skin contact, breathing it in during application, or consuming trace amounts in food and water. So even though you can be exposed to this dangerous exposure to it through consuming trace amounts in food and water, they still see no problem with using this product as a pesticide on the ingredients that go into making your food. Let's see. Under exposure, it says human exposure occurs through skin. Okay, I just read that. Under regulation and safety, it says safety status. The EPA maintains there are no risks of concern to human health when used according to label instructions. The restrictions due to environmental and health concerns, many countries and municipalities have implemented bans or restrictions on its use. Alternatives, it says organic gardening avoids synthetic pesticides like glyphosate. All right, so I'm going to let this continue to play because despite it being, even in trace amounts, being dangerous to your health, it still is not banned in this country, so its use is still widespread in this country. And I'll let this continue to play.
Honey wheat. In contrast, Sara Lee Artisano white and Pepperidge Farmhouse white had no detectable glyphosate levels. So once again, and we've seen this in every category that we have tested, whether it's the baby formula or the candy, there are problematic levels of some of these contaminants. And then in that same category of food, there are some that don't have any detectable levels. So what does that tell us? There is a right way to do it without these chemicals getting into the food supply.
There you go. There's the list. I know a lot of you are wondering, like, how is this possibly getting on the shelves, right? Don't we have systems, government programs, FDAs, food protection agencies to keep Americans safe? No. It ends up on the shelves. Many people consume it before we even know, and then we got to find it on Ticker talker. Wild, right? First Lady DeSantis in Florida has got to tell us this. How come like the FDA isn't coming out and doing a broad broadcast, right, to all the human race in the United States and saying, hey, by the way, don't eat these 8 breads that are on the shelves that we okayed to be on the shelves because they contain a crazy hardcore herbicide. We don't want you guys getting sick.
So just because the FDA says it's okay for its use, you can see that they start to use this glyphosate even in baby foods. So if you got trace amounts starting as an infant and you continue to consume this all the way up to adulthood, yeah, you're eating trace amounts all along the way. So by the time you get to, if you are getting to like say a retirement age, more than likely you have as he said, I'm not even going to say it, the C word. You more than likely are going to end up in that position having that particular ailment. And how do they know what levels are safe for you to consume? And like you said, why isn't the FDA concerned with this? Why aren't they making this announcement that you just happen to have DeSantis' wife in Florida? She's bringing out this information. So the FDA is perfectly fine with allowing you to consume this. And why is that? First of all, because the earth is run by the wicked, just as it says in Job 9:24. And I often refer to that because it seems like we're always being affected by things that this world have their different regulatory commissions that deem what levels are safe for us and what's not safe for us. I'm going to go to Proverbs chapter 29. Verse 2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And that's why you're seeing everybody walking around not feeling healthy, not feeling their best. In addition to things that we're consuming in the air, the foods that we're eating are poisonous. Basically, we consume poison on a daily basis. So everybody's got sniffles. Everybody's got some kind of ailment that they're dealing with as a result of the wicked being in control and deeming what's safe for us and what's not safe for us. I'm gonna let this continue to play.
Because of all the pesticides you're consuming because it's on public shelves. Wild, freaking crazy. Some of the ones that you guys got to watch out for: Nature's Own glyphosate residue found. One of the most widely discussed cases comes from testing conducted by the Florida Department of Health under its Healthy Florida First initiative, which found residue of glyphosate, a commonly used herbicide in several bread products sold in grocery stores all over the world. Among breads that showed detectable glyphosate levels were Nature's Own, Butter Bread, and Nature's Own Perfectly Crafted Whites. I know you guys are buying this. I know half of the parents out there are making sandwiches for their kids. Glyphosate has been studied for potential long-term health effects, including links to cancer, that's a fact, and gut health concerns. Although these products were not necessarily recalled by federal authorities, the detection led to increased scrutiny, and some stores pulled effective loaves from shelves as a precaution. So federally, they're going to be like, hey, sorry, I know you guys found this in the bread, and it's, yeah, kind of like a toxin. You probably shouldn't be eating it. Your kids probably shouldn't be eating it because it's linked to bad stuff like the big C word and other major health ailments. We're not going to flag this, but if your state deems it kind of unsafe, you guys can pull it off the shelves. Absolute nuts, right? And that's not all. Wonder Bread, classic white, herbicide detected. Another iconic brand affected by this wave of testing was Wonder Bread Classic White. Guys, I'm not innocent of this. I had myself a lot of Wonder Bread growing up. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I'm probably affected, so don't think I'm dodging bullets. Tests revealed glyphosate residue in the classic white loaf, as well as prompting some retailers to remove it while they investigated consumer safety. Consumers expressed concern over the presence of pesticides in a product marketed primarily to families and children. That's what really irks me. How come it takes an investigative group by a specific state to find the concern, and the federal government is not looking out for the consumers of the United States? Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Again, because glyphosate levels were below current U.S. regulatory limits, not all jurisdiction mandated a recall, but the findings influenced inventory decisions. What does that tell you? I've already told you guys in several videos that there's levels that are maxed out, and we question why they're even allowed. I'm not going to name any names, and I'm not going to talk about the crazy chemicals we're talking about that you can have at a certain level, when really we shouldn't be having any of that garbage. There's more, folks. Sara Lee honey wheat, high herbicide levels detected. In the same series of tests, Sara Lee honey wheat registered some of the highest glyphosate numbers according to state officials. Although not officially recalled by federal agencies, grocery stores in certain regions chose to take down the product off the shelves amidst rising consumer concern and ongoing testing. Well, shoot, they probably figured we were onto something, right? The detection is a major mainstream brand highlighted that pesticide residue can appear even on the widely distributed bread lines. Folks, I am listing major name brands. Major. Most people are buying these. These are in every single store. It gets worse. Dave's Killer Bread Varieties. Unexpected findings. Now, back when I used to eat bread, I don't eat much bread anymore, and if I do, it's made by my wife. She makes it daily, and she knows exactly what she's putting into it, and that's what our kids eat. Even brands often perceived as healthier options were not exempt. Both Dave's Killer Bread White Done Right and Dave's Killer Bread 21 Whole Grain. I know for a fact I used to buy 21 whole grain. They showed lower measurable levels of glyphosate in the same Florida testing program. This surprised some consumers because Dave's products are marketed as organic and free of genetically modified.
All right. We might listen to a little bit more, but I wanted to stop because you can see, just as he just said, that this glyphosate is even in the breads that's marked organic. All right. I just Googled this word organic, and its definition is of food or farming methods. It says produced or involving production without the use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides, or other artificial agents. So that's what the definition of organic is. But these FDA has made it so that they can almost, in their opinion, they are able to change what the definition of organic is, and they can still put it and label. You can label these things on the side of a product, even though it contains chemicals and pesticides. So they even have these pesticides which they deem to be organic. All right. So just as he said, you really should stop eating this bread, period, because this yeast and whatnot is not good for you to consume anyway, in addition to all these pesticides and this glyphosate in particular, and especially with Passover coming over right now. You know, at that point we are to eat unleavened bread for 7 days anyway. That's a good opportunity for you to go ahead and just eliminate the bread with yeast in it. That's what unleavened bread is. Unleavened bread is bread without the yeast, without a rising agent. All right, that's what it does. That rising agent, that yeast, just sits in your body, and it just like it blows up the bread, it blows you up. It's hard sometimes to even release it from your system. All right, so you should take that opportunity. Since you have to go 7 days without the yeast, you should go ahead and just eliminate the bread from your system, period. And then get into the habit of making your own bread, which I'm going to strongly consider or strongly try to do. All right, I don't like he said, I don't eat bread, but when I do eat bread, it's usually a flat type of bread. Or I'll just have a tortilla simply. But for the most part, I don't eat buns, I don't eat bread, I just don't eat it. I've eliminated it. All right, but I'm gonna make a strong effort, Lord willing, to be able to start just making my own bread, even without the yeast, period. I'm gonna bring out another scripture here from the book of Isaiah. And in the Hebrew, that would be pronounced Yeshaya. Yeshai meaning salvation. Yah shortened for Yahweh. So it means salvation, Yahweh. Yahweh salvation. All right, I'm going to go to chapter 24. To verse 5 says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. Meaning, there's supposed to be a period of time that you're really not even supposed to do farming. When you get at that 6th year, you take you make enough and harvest enough to keep to sustain you for at least a year, where you give that land the 7th year, you give it a Sabbath, you give it time off, or you even simply move from it and farm in another area. So you have to give the land rest. But the inhabitants of this land don't do that. Big business doesn't do that because they're too busy being concerned with profit. All right, they defile the land. And I'm gonna start again. Isaiah chapter 24 verse 5 says, the earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinances, broken the everlasting covenant. So they don't care about the land. They're just gonna work it to death till they kill it, which they have done. They have defiled pretty much everything that you consume. All right, this has just got a couple more minutes, so I'm gonna let it play.
Modified ingredients. Interesting that they found all that in there, right? That's what I'm telling you guys. You can believe these guys about as far as you can throw a stick. Some store managers elected to pull these loaves temporarily to reassure customers. Yeah, guess what? They find out that they're selling pesticide bread. How many people are going to be return customers at that store? Especially marketed as organic and free of genetically modified ingredients. They're fooling the people, aren't they? In this article, it says, why does this matter?
It's like I said, I'm going to go ahead and end this here because get into the habit of making your own bread. And you can make that bread without any kind of rising agent in it. You just need really 3 simple ingredients: flour, salt, and water. All right, and the flour that you want to use, you don't want to use that enriched bleach stuff. You want to use something like an almond flour. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this here. And I pray that this has been edifying to the listener. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh, and Shalom.